Name just macro. I was macro number. You had to have numbers. Number 69, 69. So I get it.
and you're like, it's me, professional.
Exactly. Speaking of professionals, we got these two teams here going into the ban phase. Lady Geist actually being banned. I actually have not seen a Lady Geist ban on broadcast so far. And Mirage, and we talked about this because they are really afraid of Deathly on Mirage because his Mirage is kind of nuts.
Does a lot of damage. One of the things here that I see for both of these squads, and this is a wide paintbrush, and maybe I'll be proved wrong, but it is in games like this where power scales, it's very hard to play early game. And early game powerful characters that are powerful in the early game can really lopside and make the ship topsy-turvy. Yeah. Lady Geist is one of these characters. You get hit when you hit the lane, the first couple of waves, ain't nobody have no items. You get hit with the Lady Geist grenade. That's 25% of your HP, and that can really knock you out of lane early. So for these theoretically lower skilled teams, I'm banning Lady Geist. So that's why it's a little bit different from the teamfight oriented bans that we see, or at least that's my estimation.
Yeah, and it makes sense though. Like I think that pick totally makes sense for what they're actually worried about, and it also gives TF2 Boomers the ability to kind of take a gamble there. They're kind of banking on them not banning Paradox, and they're going to be able to take Paradox first. Paradox being like obvious first choice when it's not banned, and Warden being the most typical, consistently first picked character in this tournament. I think still to this day, to this point, has been first picked on a team throughout every single game, even the games that we were not on broadcast. So Warden, obviously such a strong, foundational character to team compositions.
Yeah, Warden's a guy that, I think Warden has trouble when he gets a little bit behind, but something I'm learning more and more, every single day, we learn more about Deadlock, and something I'm learning is that, unlike some of the other other scaling games that we come from, being behind, you still have stats, and Warden, he just walks at you. It's non-committal to a playstyle, so you can pick this early in the draft and decide if you want to go pick, if you want to go team fight, if you want to do something weird that we haven't even discovered yet. And Warden fits, one size fits all, so I like this choice. On the other side, though, Ivy and Lash, some more utility characters, so to speak. Lash, definitely that initiation that we're looking for here out of TF2 Boomers.
Yeah, Ivy and Lash, once again, consistency about this tournament. I've been loving seeing this. The metagame has been pretty streamlined for these two characters in particular. I think now, only because Lady Geist was banned, I believe Ivy and Lash are the only two characters left with 100% pick rate in this particular tournament. So that's also something really cool to see. Great Talon, though. This is actually the first time I'm seeing a Great Talon in this broadcast. I'm excited to see that. Great Talon can be, in the right hands, a menace.
Great Talon does a ton of damage from a distance, which is a big deal. A lot of our carries tend to be these long range but more mid range type heroes that we're seeing, the Hazes and the Wraiths, who can do damage from a distance but usually are here. Whereas Talon plays like Vindicta all the way in the nosebleeds. Talon just got to change to the tether, which he can instantly pop now, which is definitely cute. The bigger reason I think we're seeing this character, though, the change to sharpshooter. This item got buffed. I think we're going to see it on him. Even though he's a spirit-based character, I think this might be more interesting for him. So, Great Talent surprises us. Dynamo and Wraith on the other side, macro, do not surprise us.
Not at all. Not at all. Dynamo's just been also, just like Warden, just a very consistent staple for more standard team compositions. We're seeing consistently Dynamo's doing a lot with their ultimates whenever they do pop it, and even in the team comps where the Dynamo in particular isn't doing too much, just their existence, just their presence can be what they need for the team to end up winning and help the carries and help the other characters do more. Kelvin also being picked, not something we haven't seen, but I do like seeing a good Kelvin action. I'm just really excited to finally see some a little bit of newness, because it was getting a little too streamlined. Just like we've seen every character here with the exception of Great Talon. Shiv, another also pretty common pick as well. Gonna be really solid for just doing some raw nasty stuff in that front, dude. I mean, Shiv just is crazy, man.
This is a thick lineup. Warden, Dynamo, Shiv, even Viscous to a certain extent.
Yeah.
This is a frontline heavy squad. I'm very eager to see who's going to end up here. And probably a Yamato or the Haze. I think the Haze is more traditional. Yamato might be a little bit more interesting. We didn't see a lot of Bebop yesterday, just a little bit, and so Bebop showing up here should be interesting.
Yeah, Bebop always ends up being one of the more last pick type characters. You really want to make sure before you pick Bebop that Bebop's going to get value, and into this composition it feels that way.
Bebop is extra protection against the Vindicta selection. So if you go Vindicta, you already don't want to go Vindicta because they have the paradox, and that's generally not something you want to pick into. And if you and those worlds, because what if you get banned? I guess you got to be wary of the ban here in Deadlock, but
of course.
But the characters are wider paintbrushes than the surgical tools that we see in other MOBAs. You really can play whatever you're good at, and so all jokes aside, Wallach's really impressed me on the Haze. Bebop is a wildly different play style, and that's cool. So let's jump in here.
We're jumping in here. We're going to talk about some quick substitution. Yesterday, Riviera was actually playing for Goober, but Goober woke up on time. So Goober is now here to play, and Goober is actually not playing the Bebop. That is still Wallach's, like we just mentioned. Goober is actually going to be playing the Paradox. So that's pretty exciting to see. This is Goober. This is Goober's debut, and on the Paradox.
So Goober is actually known for his Viscous play. Up until this point, Viscous has generally been banned by every intentional playing team pretty much anywhere, everywhere, so we don't really get to see Goober's Viscous a lot. But keep an eye and an ear out for that as things progress. We might see that Goober Viscous. We haven't seen as much Viscous in this tournament as we have seen around the rest of the professional, quote-unquote, let's say intentional, high-end, competitive scene so far. Part of that has to do with some changes, I guess, but definitely. Ooh, nice grab.
Oh, that's the grab we're talking about. That's that 1,700. That's the 1,700 hours on Bebop. I don't think he's gonna. We're not gonna see him go for those grabs unless he knows he can get it.
I think you just toss him. I think that's the mark of a good Bebop, not being afraid to miss those things. The Dynamo ults, you have to hit every time. It's on cooldown for 17 hours and 32 seconds. But when it comes down to the Bebop, like, what is it, half a minute? Toss it every time, baby. And I think the best players aren't afraid.
Oh yeah, he's obviously not going to be afraid. But I'm just going to bet that it's going to be over 50% accuracy. I'm going to go for
here,
that.
That's 100% accuracy for AVG. I mean, really shutting down the viruses here as Deathy goes ahead and eats it. The Shiv to an early start. Not the scariest snowball character in the world, but, I mean, you don't want to die in lane, so. Great look here for TF2 Boomers and AVG himself.
No, AVG just able to take down Deathy there. Deathy not playing the more signature Mirage. That Mirage ban might end up being really strong. Like, it was a very bold choice to acknowledge like how strong Deathy was on Mirage throughout this tournament and just immediately like, maybe they've done the research a little bit. Maybe they watched through the VODs.
Deathy's definitely made a little bit of a name for himself. I think Mirage is also just a fair ban. Mirage, you're playing a map-based MOBA with a global teleport. That's the end of my analytical statement. Wallach, though, eats it from Cool Cheese. So
yeah, one kill, out of position there. Yeah. Unfortunately, like Cool Cheese able to just kind of just sneak around. Not Cool Cheese, Saya with the Dynamo, able to kind of sneak around and get a good angle there that I don't think Wallach was expecting, because it came off like kind of from a really strange position to get killed from.
That's half the battle.
Just strange positions. Half the battle is strange positions and elements of surprise. I can see that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like, this isn't even just Deadlock. This is whatever shooter game you're playing. If you're a sniper, you take one, maybe two shots from that position before you leave. That's your job. They know that I'm always going to sneak at, like, maybe I play by this tombstone in the middle of the lane. Well, they're conditioned to expect me there. If I play here by the subway entrance, and then next time around I'm coming out from my jungle camp, and then next time around I'm on the left side, they're not used to looking where I'm looking. We even down to like muscle memory, getting used to crosshair location and crosshair positioning. So like, all jokes aside, yes, keep moving. You never want to take the shot from the same position.
Yeah, speaking of in the same position, we already see Paradox going back to the second lane here. Not going to leave their team alone. We're seeing a couple different rotations down the third and fourth lane. The third lane, the Grey Talon completely alone. Bebop here just kind of just waiting, trying to convince the Shiv that Shiv wants to convince the Shiv that Shiv's alone. So with the Lash going in.
And it's going to be Lash and the Bebop. So Shiv jumps on in, but that might have been a questionable choice. Dynamo shows up and turns it around after the turnaround. AVG and Saya combine to take down Deathy and Wallix. And that's why AVG stuck to it. Looked questionable, Macro. He's jumping in 1v2, but the comms were there. Saya was around the corner, and we knew the Dynamo ult was going to come through. Great play.
Might have been one of those cases where like the person that was trying to be baited was the baiter, because that kind of felt that way, because the Bebop was trying to pretend like they weren't there, trying to bait AVG. Unfortunately, Saya still ends up falling down, but that's after the fact. That's after the entire team had to come in and swarm just that position, pushing that Dynamo.
Yeah,
I think at the end of the day, it still paid off.
Those windows, you know, you like win the fight and you open the window. Run before the cops come. Like, you can't hang out in the store after you turn on the alarm. So, a little bit rough there for Salty, for sure.
Now we see just the Wraith trying to level up as fast as possible. Currently, still a pretty even game. Deaths coming from both sides pretty consistently. Everyone's just trying to farm as quickly as they can.
One of the things that I liked there in that engagement was it really like kind of went to the spirit of the composition, what I mentioned earlier, where ABG just had to trust. Oh,
that's a crazy ultimate there. Pull into the ice. That is so brutal. But Kelvin could not finish it yet. Visk is able to get out, maybe with their life. Yes.
Yeah.
Teammates coming in to help support. He's got two strong ultimates out of the melee creeps there.
Ooh, Warden here. Playing with fire. So these invades they're so juicy. They're right here, right? You've got this easy camp in the Jazz store, and then right here to the left of Warden, you got this medium camp. You want to steal these camps all the time, but obviously you're on the enemy side of things, so Yamato will pop the ult here largely for self-preservation as her and her squad are trying to just push enemies out and look for the Guardian. But Lash, trying to turn it around, goes up to the sky and pops the ultimate. Everybody runs in response. Maybe Yamato falls here, but she's the only casualty likely to end up in this situation, and she doesn't get anything for it. Guardian still standing, so an all-in push from the blue squad here, and it does not go their way. They don't even get the tier 1, like I said, and they both fall down, both AVG and the Yamato player.
Yeah, we saw melee creeps there, able to stall a little bit. Op on the Viscus was able to at least cube up the Yamato, kind of stall out that death a bit, and now they can make a push comeback because the timing is a little bit better now in that window. Salty gets taken down by Cool Cheese on the Warden. Gets caught a little bit out of position, but it's okay, it happens. Still early game. You're allowed to be out of position sometimes.
I'm really looking at this Grey Talon. Really looking at this Grey Talon. Yamato going to find the flank here. She's going to dash in and look for Lash. This is a questionable engagement if she goes deeper. And the ultimate out of the Bebop to really make sure she decides against it. Warden finds that kill on Lash with that wraparound. Did not see that pathing coming out from Warden. Very, very smart to go ahead and kind of pass, right? This one started by
Look
Yamato.
at that hook! Having to pop the Yamato just to survive there because that hook was across.
Oh, yeah. Nice
wow.
play.
And at the end of the day, though, the melee creeps got a lot out of that. They got a kill. They got the Bebop ultimate out of that as well. Then in exchange for what? A Yamato ultimate?
Yeah,
I think that's a fair
double
trade. That's a huge, but not fair. It's a completely W for melee creeps.
It's fair
It's a
for
trade.
me.
It's a trade that if I were melee creeps, I would take.
Well, here's the first big play out of the Grey Talon, taking down the Guardian. I was being a little facetious, my bad. That time, not quite. Salty and sweet. The chase down from the bow and arrow character. As Kelvin's being chased down by the cops as well. Man, blue team on top. Deathy falls across the way, but help coming from the wings, literally by way of Ivy. So a coalescence on lane 2. And it looks like the yellow squad going to be pushing against this blue team incursion, and CC winds up falling down. Mirror Man, the important rotation. Things really could have gone Pete Tong if blue team was able to go out of control here in this second lane.
That's the issue when you call yourself cool cheese. You're going to melt sometimes. And there he got completely melted by that Mirror Man coming in, picking up Goober, cross the map on that Paradox. I think that was a really smart play to take down that Warden, who was being a little bit more aggressive there. And Warden still got a kill, so it still ended up being an even trade in the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, the Warden is that's the job. Your job is to just, all right, I'm going to go underwater. Like, Warden can deal with it. Here's that new Wraith ultimate. Faster projectile, still not fast enough.
Salty coming in, just on the sides here, just slowly recovering. Pasha in the background, killing Lash. Dynamo able to heal up Pasha a bit there. Securing what is essentially a free kill.
Is right side bridge buff? Can we jump on Shiv real quick? Is right side bridge buff? He's just getting it now. Okay. Usually these teams are really fastidious about those bridge buffs. 30 seconds after is like late, you know? So, curious. More of a grouping on the left side of the map, I imagine. As the urn now being run by the Warden. Not really a soul lead to grab onto looking at the 9k Warden compared to everybody else, but the squad just wants to fight here, and I don't know if that's the right choice, because Grey Talon's been pretty successful in these engagements, finding some damage, but needs to capitalize on the kill all the way in no man's land. I hate this play. The kill goes the way of Grey Talon, and he gets out of there, so who the hell am I?
Yeah, that Grey Talon was making an aggressive choice there, a choice that most of us would agree was a little kind of scary there, but if you don't miss, go for it.
Facts. Really big play from the Grey Talon specifically to kind of counteract what Warden was doing by way of the urn. Doesn't counteract it, obviously, down 5k, but stems the bleeding just a little bit. Got to be finding some of these structures. The kill out of the Walker might not really have been worth, but then you look at the space created and look where TF2 Boomers are. Bang! Tier 1 and tier 2 down on that first lane, and they get the Guardian in lane number 2 as well. So big moves as far as the map is concerned, and there's that equalizer. Basically a tie game as a result of the crazy dive creating space for what really mattered, the objectives.
Yeah, every single time the TF2 Boomers go in, get some sweet kills, the melee creeps retaliate and keep it pretty even the whole time. I think there's something really nice about that composition melee creeps has. They have a lot of escape tools. They have a lot of ways to save their team. And they also have a lot of characters, like you mentioned earlier, that just won't die.
Well, here's a Predator missile online.
Using that as more for information. Yeah, it might have been just this. Yeah, 100%. There was just trying to see how the left lane was looking, telling their Shiv, telling the team not to worry about the left lane and focus instead on these other lanes, which is what I think what they're going to do.
Yeah, which, heads up, another jump in from Grey Talon. This time has help by way of the frontliner, though. Down from the sky comes Lash, and down into the ground goes the Guardian in this lane number 3. The ultimate's going to come out from the Whipman. And big damage onto Yamato. Half health already. She does have the ult. So got to keep an eye on that deep dive from the Samurai. But
we see
it looks like a defusal of the situation.
Once again, we're seeing that trade action. Goober getting a kill. AVG responding. It's just always keeping it even right now. But for the first time ever, TF2 Boomers actually have a soul lead. It's not much, but it's honest work.
It's honest work.
No, seriously, this is the closest game we've seen in the 13-minute mark.
It's actually not honest. They're lying to us.
Always lying. This is how it is. Deadlock player. Why are Deadlock players like this?
Why you always lie? Pause.
Wow.
Oh, FOV bug. Rough.
Interesting.
Well,
FOV
two
bug.
players have an FOV bug, and 2 players are dealing with audio. So.
Well, in the meantime, we can talk about some really cool stuff that you can do in the chat. Type !oats in the chat for every single purchase of oats that you purchase. Half of it will go to the prize pool for whoever wins this tournament. Right now, we already got $114. That little widget on the right shows you that. Every time you buy it, it's good. Oats is delicious.
Oats, 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 oats.
Oats, 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 oats overnight. We love it. Oh wow, look at these like
I was
extra little.
I was just gonna let you marinate in that moment. You actually, are you in Wicked?
Oh, am I? So if you can't, oh, I'm sorry. And we're starting right back in.
And I do not have a response for that one. You got me so good.
You weren't ready. You weren't ready for me to hit the note exactly. Like
Brody, I was not ready in the slightest. Jumping back in here, though. The unpause is good. The players are connected 14 minutes in. And we are holding space in this tournament for sure, as the TF2 Boomers have made it all the way through the bracket, as well as the Melee Creeps. 2 games away, or 2 sets away, I should say, from the grand finals, where Hydra Nation, the largely undisputed #1 team in North America, lies in wait to see who they will be playing up against. This is our first game of the night. Day, morning, it's all relative. And we got some bangers in front of us, so should be exciting.
Some fights are coalescing in the center of the map right now. I think whoever can win this team fight, if there is a strong win in this team fight, we'll go for the mid-boss right after. That ultimate great Talon comes out, does a chunk of damage. Actually, a little bit of damage. Doesn't really do enough, though.
Yeah.
The Melee Creeps just really living up to their name, man. They just won't die.
Just creeping around here. Lash, the schmovement, shout out Fawn, on display. Just trying to stay above everybody and really just make that impactful dive kick. Unfortunately, he's the one getting kicked out and dove on. Now a 3v1, the single player in a yellow jersey trying to run away, and Ivy does not have the movement. So Mirror Man going to fall on down. A 2-for-none exchange here from the Melee Creeps, and that stick-to-itiveness is paying off in spades as Brayden falls down, but that shouldn't stop the push.
Yeah, AVG able to take down a Walker in the background. While it's able to take out Dynamo, ended up being a 2-for-2 trade. A little bit slower than that, because by the time this trade happens, Mirror Man's already going to be spawning up. But still, allows it, like I said, just keeping it kind of even. Every time we think that they're going to get a huge push, they retaliate.
Right side, lane 4. 3-person push coming out from TF2 Boomers. The rotation out of the Warden and the Viscous. Warden came by way of teleport from behind, and Viscous showed up on the side. A little bit of puddle punches and some nonsense, and they're not just getting pushed out, they're getting pushed down. Wowlick stays way too long, and there's the 3-man kill on the one little robot. It'll convert into an earned push, and it is still even, so we'll see if it works out this way, because the space created by that kill out of Bebop should be enough for the earn, especially if Melee Creeps just want to fight this one.
Yeah, I think Warden's definitely going to be able to take this earn to the other side. However, in the second lane, bit of action coming out, including great Talon ultimate on AVG. AVG trying his best to get out on the rails, but it fails. Just not enough speed on those rails, even when he uses his feet. You know that, like when Shiv uses his feet, you think he'd be faster, but not fast enough.
You got a little Clyde Frazier in you. Swishing and dishing. He's on the rails and he fails. I love it, man. I'm here for it.
I'm here, Dr. Seussing it up, dude.
Yeah, I'm here for it. Listen, 1 fish, 2 fish, red fish, Warden fish. Okay, it didn't work. We don't have to talk about it. Warden, gonna drop the urn here. Just a little bit of a castle. You see this a lot from higher end squads. They'll grab the urn and just deny it essentially by bringing it into their territory. Lash goes out, comes back on in like the hokey pokey, and looking for some of that poke damage or maybe some more. Warden shows up as well with the last stand already active, but nobody's in the radius. Veilwalker's so smooth, but it's not enough movement speed for him to catch up to everybody else. And so just the one death on Wowlick again, unfortunately, but no large complaints about the Bebop outside of the deaths. Great Talon, on the other hand, doing work, but I'm not sure if it's enough.
Yeah, destroying that Walker is going to be nice for them, but like you mentioned before, like the Warden wasn't able to secure that kill to help them at least push through. This is actually a pretty good ultimate on the side of Kelvin here. And no, actually, sorry. That ultimate kind of trapped himself, honestly.
You're like, oh, this is good. Oh, this is bad.
He's like, it could have helped if he got healing out there, but he was completely alone, just completely caught off guard. And now they can go for the mid-boss. Melee Creeps are in a solid position here to just pretty easily take this mid-boss for free. They might get a... TF2 Boomers might go for a pick on the way out, and they get one. Wow, it's already going in. Lash coming with an ult.
And he's
able
going
to
to
pull out the
toss
Viscous.
all the way up to the upper floor here. The reverse Mortal Kombat. Melee creeps do wind up getting the Rejuvenator. But as my friend Drybear would say, at what cost? One player falls down, and honestly, the cost doesn't look like that much. I thought TF2 Boomers had a much better angle on that fight. Oh man, that went awry, and I'll be straight up. I thought TFTB would be able to find that one. A little surprised that Melee Creeps make it out so unscathed, just losing their Warden player.
Yeah, just the Warden player, and even then, like they don't even mind because they got 2 full kills out of that, and still have the respawn buff for the Warden.
Absolutely, and like that's really the big thing is that here when you get the Rejuvenator. The first push, and it's all contextual, there's never a this is what you do all the time type thought process, but when you get the first, especially the first Rejuvenator, like no reason to push, no reason to punish, no reason to like go too hard, just wipe the board of all the structures. You can deathball at this point, you've got a Rejuvenator, you got the super minions, you got a whole bunch of 20% firepower on top, so y'all could just walk down the Guardians and the Walkers. The tier 3s start to get a little trepidatious or problematic, but like you can still go for it. You don't need to all in, and the all-ins are where you need your Warden. So if Warden's sitting down, we do not care. I'm just going to go shoot the Guardian. Like, I'll see you later, dog. When you respawn, we'll push as a unit. Until then, I'm out here cleaning up objectives like it's summer vacation.
Yeah, it's just so cool to see that the first time we see a great Talon putting in a ton of work in this for their team. Big push coming out from this Ivy. Ivy going to put the ultimate out. Lash ultimate comes out as well. Able to secure the kill on the Dynamos. Dynamo goes down.
2 separate engagements here. Kelvin finding himself on that right side. The ultimate already popped. Inside this building, 4 players there. I'm looking outside, though. It's all about this gray talent for TF2 Boomers. A lot of the damage has to come from this Archer because the other carries just Paradox already down. And so is Salty. That team fight I had my eyes on, and that was just divide and conquer. Make sure that TF2 Boomers can't be grouped up. Make sure that you cut that fight in half, and make sure you bring it to the house.
Yeah, these friendly base guardians, they're finally going down. The first base guardians going in. This is the first team fight we saw where we saw more than just 2 people die. 4 whole people are dead, still respawning in, able to take on the shrine. They're going to be able to take out the first half of the patron. This is a extremely fast push on their part. Very aggressive, though. They could be punished here by the time they come and spawn.
This is generally the textbook play here, as Kelvin's going to harass, and might not be the right choice for TF2 Boomers to go this far out. I think you make it to the end of the block and you come home for dinner. Because at any point in time, Melee Creeps can turn around and punch you in your mouth. So, a scary chase here from TF2 Boomers. But Melee Creeps opt not to punish. I can't knock it. Better safe than sorry.
Yeah, we still see there that Melee Creeps just made such an insanely good push into there, getting so much value after that one team fight. Even going for the soul urn as well, which makes sense. You want to now you're in the position. You're finally at the upper hand. You have a soul lead of getting closer to 20,000. It is now you now are in the driver's seat. You got to make your opponents come to you. You got to bait them, and usually the soul urn can be that bait.
A lot of times, like players get drawn to the soul urn, like I don't know, mosquitoes to citronella. Like they like think they want to be on it, and then they're like, never mind. There's too many people there, and you just wind up wasting your time. Like,
is that how citronella works? Like the mosquitoes are drawn to it? I thought they hate it.
Well, they like think they're like, oh, it's a flame, I want to go near, and then like, oh, I don't like that, and so they wind up being like just outside of your party, and I feel like that's what the urn does. Like you respond to it, you're like, oh crap, I gotta go defend, and then you get there and you see Dynamo, you see Bebop, you see Grey Talon, you see his cousin, you see his mother, you see his aunt, and you're just like, well, never mind. But they've already accomplished, the team with the urn have accomplished what they were looking for, which is pulling you out of position. You're just local, but not there, which means you're not doing anything. And that's the only rule about MOBAs. Always be clearing. Well, if you're just standing there looking at the urn zone while they're getting it, you ain't clearing. So
I love learning about Deadlock while learning about mosquito anatomy. And now we got some of these people going to be pesky little bugs as well. Speaking of which, let's see what ends up happening here. A Lash ultimate gets popped. So does the Bebop ultimate. Tons of damage being shot through across, but the Viscous can maybe defend a little bit here.
He's rolling on out and trying to find that backline damage. Unable to do so. Look how far away Salty and Bebop are. That's where they need to be, and here comes the Insurgents. The team from Melee Creeps are barreling forward, and now with no more frontline, Goober, Wallix, Salty, just waiting to be popped. Wraith is showing up, and this damage is deadly. Big swap from Paradox. We'll just put a pin in it for a moment because there's help on the other side. Viscous waiting, gets the last hit off of the Wraith kill, and with just the pit done, that's game one, y'all.
This is definitely going to be game one. Unless somehow Bebop and this great Talon can come and perform miracles, land every single shot. Yeah, not going to happen. A victory goes to the side.
Doesn't have that element. So where do you make up for that? You make up for that just in raw dam by way of the spirit build and hitting people with the spirit hour. Sure. One already in the books. Melee Creeps are up. TF2 Boomers, well, obviously, that means they're down. However, listen, if you're just joining us, the first game was tight, and I liked what I saw out of the Boomers, and frankly speaking, I think they just need a secondary carry. I don't think that this first game went the direction of Melee Creeps out of some overwhelming, oh my god, it can't happen. I think we see a game 3 here, Macro.
I actually think so, especially with these bands already being completely different. Two completely different bands, Viscous and Paradox being banned here. Yeah, banning the Docks, obviously something we've seen throughout this tournament, but this is actually the first time, and we've talked about it. We thought Viscous would be banned more, but I can respect this ban because I don't think that Melee Creeps, because they can't guarantee get Viscous the way that the TF2 Boomers probably would go for Viscous immediately. Because of that, they'd rather not have to deal with it because they like having it. They like playing Viscous, and they showed it. Viscous did a lot that last game. Saved a team tons of times coming in with the balls and the cubes. But now instead, we see Lady Geist and finally Mirage, TF2 Boomers, going to finally get to play with some of the more comfort picks that they have as well, which is going to be huge to see. I just think that the Melee Creeps just weren't as afraid of the Mirage this time around and more worried about the fact that they would have to deal with the character that they are not as comfortable dealing with like Viscous.
Well, big picture, I suppose, like a lot of times I like to lean on the wisdom that you want to ban playstyles, not characters, right?
Yeah.
Like if you're just going to left click me, if you're a Wraith, if you're a Haze, what's the difference? Well, Wraith has the ultimate. That's a larger conversation, but y'all know what I mean. And like Viscous is a team fighter. Mirage is a macro player. And like TF2 Boomers, like Melee Creeps are just worried about the team fight. They don't really, you want to rotate on us? Fine, we'll fight you 6-on-4 while Mirage is in the other lane. Go ahead. But traditional composition coming out here from Melee Creeps a little bit. Double frontline in the Warden and the Dynamo. Dynamo being a large setup character. And the Wraith has laggard a little bit in popularity on North America, but now coming up in popularity a little bit lately, so double initiation in Dynamo and Lash, and across the way, Lady Geist, Mirage, and Ivy. A lot of odds and ends there.
No, definitely. I mean, the Ivy pick is something we've seen a little bit more standard, but now we're looking for potentially having a little bit more of a tankier picks for 8, 10, and 12. We'll see what ends up happening for the TF2 Boomers for that. I like the Lash pick for Melee Creeps. Getting the Lash and the Warden together, always solid. Always feels good. Dynamo as well. Everything about the Melee Creeps has been super standard. They're playing it. They're playing it by the books, and that's okay. The book is good. The book hurts. I would like to maybe even see like an Abrams pick here. TF2 Boomers.
I see what you did.
The book.
Do you see what you did?
Yeah. Speaking of that, I was kind of like
you were like
Yamato though. Okay. They were really. I can see that they were like really. It was Yamato last game was really difficult to deal with. And so I can see this being a pick of not only being strong for their composition, but also as a way to not let the Melee Creeps have Yamato. What do you think about it, though?
Yeah, certainly a thought. I mean, it is the dive composition for Melee Creeps with the way it's looking. Yamato would be a great complement to this comp. So I'm picking up what you're putting down here. The Kelvin coming on through here for Melee Creeps, and this last selection, honestly, probably going to be a straight damage dealer to pair up with the Wraith.
Yeah.
This is a composition where I would be more willing to look at the Grey Talon, right? You're getting Warden walking in there, causing some disruption. Wraith is left clicking a bunch of people, and the stragglers that get out, the Birdman gets them, right? Like that's my general thought process of Grey Talon. But we'll see. as Bebop gets selected again here for the Boomers, and again a prolific Bebop player on that squad, right? That was Walex, you said?
1,700 hours on on Bebop with Walex. Didn't really showcase it too heavily though. It wasn't like he was fully carrying it.
No, I gotta be the bad co-caster. I gotta completely
he got those hooks. You're right. I'm sorry. You're right. The pools were sick. They just didn't get follow-ups a lot of the time, unfortunately.
Yes,
that was the part that you're right. Like I called it early on, and I want to kind of see the stats. I think his accuracy with those pools was pretty consistent.
Game number 2, TF2 Boomers and the Melee Creeps. 1-2 sets away from our grand finals. We've got a long day of Deadlock ahead, and I am giga excited.
Yeah.
Last note I wanted to make about the comps here, though, was the idea that, like, I was looking for a real hard damage character out of Melee Creeps to go with Pashi's Wraith. And we got the Pocket, and I was looking for a Haze or Infernus type character. But tanks do a ton of damage, and Pocket I generally think of as like a disruptor initiator type player, but
yeah,
can just bring the dam. So
yeah, Pocket has that versatility though that I feel like you could end up just like fully going all in on just being like, I'm a Pocket that is gonna just go for kills and go for damage, which can happen. I've seen some really rough Pockets, but in this tournament in particular, that's not how Pocket has been played.
Also, Warden just winds up. We consistently in like no donuts, but hydration's the guy, so we'll kind of leave him out of the conversation. As an early punch onto CC is good, and not a death here, a death across the way as Yamato falls down to the hand of Saya over there in lane number 3. So nice push. But my bigger point being is that Wardens consistently, we've seen the stats, we think of him as a tank, but we then look, and he's got a bunch of weapon damage cards, and often leading the lobby or high up there in Dam. So we think of Warden as this quintessential tank, but he's kind of more of a quintessential, if you will, top laner. He's a bruiser. So is Pocket. 2 bruisers equal a DPS? I don't know about that, but sounds like math.
Yeah, the Melee Creeps also are on the Amber team now, by the way. So on the top right there, we see that TF2 Boomers actually do not have a win. The Melee Creeps have a win. So if they win this set and move on to go for 2nd and 3rd place. Just in case you just came in. But either way, we're seeing, of course, this team composition over here. Deathy on their comfortable Mirage. Deathy's Mirage is absolutely insane. Look at this, and we're talking about Walex's 1,700 hours. Gets an easy hook in there. Can they secure the kill, though? This is the follow-up that we're talking about. As good as the hooks have been, the follow-ups have not been there a lot of the time.
Little early, and I mean, well, it's Mirage. He knows
that worked. Yeah, that worked. It worked out this time around with Deathy on the Mirage combining with Walex's Bebop. I think that actually might be the sauce, the secret sauce that they have going into this.
More so than the pull, you know, talking about the hours on this character. The pull, yeah, sure. You clicked on a head, good for you. But the turn, the throw against the wall, the combo of the finishing combo with the bomb and the uppercut, like, that's where I see those hours. The like instant turn into the wall. I know where I'm throwing you. You know what I mean? That's where I really saw those hours, and I want to see, you know, 1,700. Jokes aside, that's a lot, and I want to see what it looks like. So that's really what I'm looking at more so as Kelvin jumps on in here, gets aggressive onto the gargoyle. 3 versus 1, and Mirror Man, well, like a vampire. I don't see him.
No longer in the mirror at all. Mirror Man is able to respawn here. Again, though, the Bebop getting another pool. Lands the bomb on it. I think that's pretty weakened here. This might be a pick. It is a pick on AVG. Again, a second pick back-to-back against AVG. AVG just does not have a strong enough defensive plan against the Mirage Bebop combo that is showing to be really strong for the TF2 Boomers.
Wallach showing up with a weapon damage build so far. It's early, so maybe it's just a lot of times you buy these kind of like basic magazine. You buy these weapon damage cards because they have bullets, shields on them, so it's a little misleading, so to speak. Largely, we see Bebop build Spirit to make use of the ultimate, but really the bomb. A lot of people like to cheese the bomb, but strong, just straight up real play here. So
yeah, just a lot of simple choices going on here. But we're seeing on the 3rd lane, 3 whole people coalescing on this Yamato. The Yamato has been getting kind of like punished here, but now they're all shifting to the right lane. There might be a big fight happening over here in this right lane with the Kelvin.
He's just skating.
They're skating. He's just skating. He's over here playing Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, all casual.
Not casual here. The ultimate slung. Low players, so a little bit of a threat, but there's nobody around the backside to capitalize off of the Shepherd. Here comes help as Mirage shows up. Dynamo pops the ultimate largely defensively, and this is a capitalization. Goober and Boink put up big capital letters and push down the two tanks of melee creeps. A really, really heads-up play here. And as a result, they win 2, but Lash looking for a fight back will earn 1. But it's a 1-for-2 exchange after the fact, still going the way of TF2 Boomers.
Yeah, it's still TF2 Boomers. Oh, wait, Deathly able to get a kill on Braden. However, dying in the process for it. It's still looking like it's in the favor of the TF2 Boomers here.
I don't know.
Even
one kill gives her a heal. 1v2 under the ground isn't necessarily a loss for Yamato. It does go that way. Little too low and a little to the wrong targets. If she's down there with somebody a little bit less tanky, if she's down there with a little bit more health, we honestly might see that 1v2, but if ifs and buts were horses, beggars would ride, so.
Flag happening. Game's going to be starting in. This tournament has been run super smoothly. Shout out our production team and shout out, of course, our sponsor over at Oats Overnight. Every single purchase of Oats will get some more points to the winning team. Kelvin wanting to try to get that Oats money right now. Trying to push in aggressively on this Lady Geist.
I like how you said points. Oats are actually providing, when you purchase, they're going to put money onto that prize pool.
You're right, not points.
My bank account sometimes feels like points, depending on how well or how poorly we're doing. Either way, Dynamo, he got no points. Boink winds up on the good side as everybody in here in the garage trying to find some of this farm. And an early active game macro, like these first 12 minutes, we generally see lanes with a little bit of rotation, but this is a lot of activity in the in-betweens.
Yeah, they're not really having much time to just breathe and even go for these farming. They're doing it now, but like a lot of the time it's only for like a couple seconds before a team fight, another 1v1 or 1v2 fight ends up happening. They're really playing, both teams playing quite aggressively here.
Big rotations coming out from, well, everybody. Lash already lost his Guardian in lane 1, so just kind of playing here in the jungle, trying to see if he can get the catch on Mirage or if he wants to assist in this 2v2 in lane 2. But as we ride along here with Yamato, this is now turned into a 2v2 lane on the outside. So the full commit now, as Yamato and the Lady Geist are now basically duo laning against the Kelvin and the Wraith. Yamato will leave for a moment, but largely just to get this farm. I think this outside lane is going to stay duo to deny some of these flex spots for both of these squads. Like, both teams want to deny their opponent these first flexes, because right around 12 minutes is where you really like, all right, seems early, but I can already use a fifth, either weapon or spirit, whichever you're focusing on, so.
Yeah, with the it's still like a pretty much anyone's game at this point. A lot of trades are happening, so now it's just time to farm, time to play a little bit of farming simulator. No one's really trying to cause any big thing. A little bit of a ceasefire happening, except this Yamato. This Yamato is saying, no ceasefire at all. We're trying to kill anyone in sight, and it's on site. Braden getting the first kill on Salty there. Zaya, having to pop ultimate.
Up here. Lash will show up as well, and here comes everybody else. 4 players are on the left side of the map, and the other players are here on the right. Goober winds up taking one down. And ultimately, blue team look like they're going to shove onto this walker as AVG falls down to Deathy, and just more blue team barrels. So the Boomers in a good position this time around, much better than game number 1. They're going to go ahead and get this tier 1. They've already got the left side tier 1 as well, so more map prominent, or map dominance, I should say, coming out from the TF2 Boomers. There's that flex spot that melee creeps really wanted to prevent, and Boomers are able to get that objective fruitfully so.
Oh, that flex spot's going to be really huge. They got plenty of extra souls to completely buy some of the strongest items in the mid game right now. And now we're finally seeing a strong lead for TF2 Boomers in this entire series. We have not seen them be in the lead even like this high. They've only ever been around tying in the soul lead. Still too early to call it, of course, but it's looking really favorable for TF2 Boomers if they keep playing like they're playing right now in these team fights and just successfully scoring kills with their Yamato doing a lot of work, as well as Wildix on the Bebop.
That's the big deal. Like, Bebop, You know, we sort of set the table for Walex, and unfortunately, you know, whether it was them, whether it was the team, it just didn't come to prominence. Stop doing that. Thank you, Wraith. It just didn't come to prominence, right? This time around, we've already seen some of the individual prowess. It's been very, very fun to watch, and we've seen a little bit more of that follow-up, which is the biggest deal. Bridge buffs are going to be fought over at 10 minutes. Dynamo shows up, pops the ult, gets countered by the Gargoyle, and they take on Pashi. A beautiful answer to that Dynamo ult from the TF2 Boomers. They capitalize on that situation, continue to push into Tier 2 in this lane 3. Kelvin will get on out of here, and Yamato, that's what she's doing. She's just looking to create space so her team can push OBJs.
Another strong push there led by Goober. Just another Guardian taken down for it. Just really strong showcases of every single fight. Every single time the team fight is initiated, TF2 Boomers completely on the offensive here. Melee creeps trying to use stuff. They popped a defensive Dynamo ultimate there for nothing. They got nothing out of it. Dynamo still just died for it.
Oh, yeah. That was, I mean, it didn't even a lot of times you're going to hear me bark at players for just slamming the Dynamo ult. Like, if you're going to die, throw your ultimate. Not Dynamo. That thing's on like a 3-minute cooldown. If you panic ult at the end, it's still a bad choice. I don't necessarily think it looked like that. I think Dynamo was just like, okay, this is actually a good ult. My team can follow. Ivy's behind me. And then as soon as he gets stunned by the Gargoyle, it's GG, no re. So I think that's really what happened. I'm down to dunk, but I don't think Pachi gets dunked on here. I think that was a seemingly good play that just TF2 Boomers, they had that trap card. Gotcha.
No, that was a great push on the Ivy then. Ivy able to slam them. CC able to kill Boink on the McGinnis there. ABG finally takes down a Guardian.
Man.
Kind of keeping the Guardians now. They only have they're only 2 Guardians behind instead of being a full 3. Yamato though pushing for this big walker here.
And gonna largely do a ton of work on it. Mirror Man gets the urn, but I'm looking here under this walker. 1 kill go. Ooh, a bite back. Pocket. Such an important kill here. Pocket's gonna go ahead and defend this Guardian by himself. Geist is gonna join the parade, and this walker might fall down as a result. Ivy's here, and Pocket was able to deal with 1, maybe 2, but when that 3rd player showed up, Pocket correctly so fell back, and the walker does fall.
There goes the Warden.
Objective prominence coming out from Boomers.
Wow, Wellix and the McGinnis able to completely take down the Warden there. Warden was able to secure a kill earlier, as we saw on the Yamato, but still caught himself into a position where the team was coming in. The rally cry happened right at that point. I feel like he should have stepped back a little bit more.
Time to go. Yeah, I feel that. The McGinnis has been quiet. And if we take a look at the top and stare at net worth, TF2 Boomers are doing well. They're in the driver's seat. 2-2-2 with the average net worth. Boink's McGinnis is extremely averagely acceptable. Like there's nothing egregious happening that, oh my god, they should have picked this McGinnis. But I haven't seen that moment where like the wall saves the team fight or the turrets take the tank down by 30% just looking at them. I think we'll see that more, and this is, I think, why players are a little bit, this might lead itself to some of the conversation around McGinnis being largely negative, is that she doesn't have this immediate impact. You kind of have to like set up the turret camp. You kind of have to like be in a good position to make that wall be a trump card instead of just annoying. And so in the day-to-day, in the early phases, where we're looking at the laneage, maybe she doesn't have her best moments. But when we're looking at mid-boss, when we're defending or pushing into the enemy tier 3s, when we're looking for the shrine and able to wall off the entirety of the opposition, that's where she gets to shine. So she shines at her specific moments, Mac. But like, maybe we just haven't been listening to her song yet. And later on, we'll see it. I'm still keeping my eyes open. I think the bigger picture here is that she just hasn't failed. And that's probably the best you're looking for out of a character that is largely never picked.
Yeah, totally. And I think it's like, even this in the case, it's really difficult to fail when your team, the TF2 Boomers, are just playing so smart. They're using their ultimates really wisely. Yamato has been putting in work again. And look at that, able to help get the kill on the Warden there. They're just able to always know when to, like, it was obviously a three people on them, but I don't know. Every time they see the opportunity, they take it and it works out in their favor every time.
No, absolutely. You were right. That was a 3v3 fight. It's interesting. The target prioritization was a little bit different than you might expect. Push here in lane 3. This one with the momentum of TF2 Boomers again. Mirage is that boy. Goober does not have his signature Viscous, but out here, carving a new signature. The Mirage looking really, really good on this team. Again, actually, Mac, did Melee Creeps ban the Mirage, or was it Boomers last game?
So Melee Creeps banned the Mirage in the first game, knowing that Deathy's Mirage is such a strong pick for him. And you can see right now why it was actually honestly smart for them to consistently ban Mirage. I think they might have to ban him again because he's putting in so much work. Deathy getting 2 picks there at the end on AVG and Braden, while also getting the mid boss, the only one that goes down being Mirror Man. And they get the hook! Oh my god! Look at that hook across the map! Op was trying to get out of his Pocket, and Pocket can usually get out pretty safely. Not at all when you have an arm like that.
Beautiful play here from the Bebop. Lucky shot going to be selected, and again, you look at these spirit items on the Bebop, and they're utility spirit items. You got bullet resist shredder, you got that mystic reach, and you got slowing nonsense. They're facilitator items. They're not this spirit build that you're so used to seeing. It's not this world of just like all purple cards. Gun Bebop is something that we've seen, if you look at it, it's seen a little bit more frequently these days, and this is kind of proof in the pudding. At the end of the day, I mean, it really is just that displacement is just so incredibly powerful that, like, whatever type of damage you choose to go in the direction of with Bebop, whether you want to be cheese with the spirit build or a little bit more, like, in my opinion, traditional with the gun build, nail that pull and you're doing it.
McGinnis here caught up a little bit, but the team's coming to come support the McGinnis here in this fight. We're getting a huge fight over here in the left lane. Basically everybody but the Yamato is involved.
Good fall back under the walkers.
Humongous
out of the
Bebop.
Bebop. Largely created some chaos. Don't know how much damage it did, but that's what you got Deathy for across the way, so.
I like to compare Bebop's ultimate to a like Pokemon Hyper Beam in the sense that it's such a big ultimate, but it doesn't necessarily do as much as you think it would do. Like, it won't actually go for the kills, but like you said, it creates humongous space. And if they do not respect it, it will kill you. Like
that's really the thing. It's like, you know, only a dummy really dies to it unless you're caught in a bad position. But what it forces you to do is run away. And the smart Bebop knows where you're running to, and the smart Bebop teammates catch you on the other side. So a successful tier 2 push here in lane number 1, coming out from TF2 Boomers. Sorry, I got turned around a little bit. TF2 Boomers now pushing down into the Amber base. As the tier 3 is on the menu. Salty, though, winds up getting one of these kills in the scrum here. As everybody's looking for these tier 2 walkers in these internal lanes, which they're looking for them both at the same time, which is a wild decision, but with the 6-on-5, I guess it makes sense.
It's a 6-on-5, but like that's not the real full story being shown. A $30,000, 30,000 soul differential. They need those flex spots now because they can afford literally anything at this point. They are in such a commanding lead here. It is them in the driver's seats. Look at these lane control as well. The entire lane full of their big minions as well from the previous push, from the mid boss. Like, this is just such dominant position that they have right now. It's really theirs to lose at this point for the TF2 Boomers.
Big point there. 20 minutes in, just about. 19. And the 30,000 soul lead, great highlight there. I have largely stayed away from looking at these soul leads because a lot of time I just think they're misleading. But at 30, now you're
30 is a story.
Yeah, now you're just leading. So.
No, yeah, we always, I'm with you on that. I agree. Like 10,000, no, like doesn't matter. But once we get past the 25K mark, like it's like, sir, this is, sir, the house is on fire, and they're saying this is fine. You know, like,
well, I mean,
is
like do the math. A lot of times we're looking and we're like, oh, 10K, that sounds like a lot because we come from other games with different amounts of players on the field and different itemization. You know, we look at, once you mentioned 25,000. 25,000 soul lead winds up being 4,000 souls per player. And of course, some players are going to be a little bit ahead, so it's not always an even split. But, you know, run with me here. That's a tier 3 card. above the opposition, that's when it's really noticeable. You bring that number down a little bit, and all right, so he has he has a 1250 card above me. I'm going to take that fight. He a little bit of a lead, but I'm not giga afraid. But once you get this 25, 30,000 soul lead, you're talking about a tier 3 card, tier 4 card. If she has an entire tier 3 card on me, I'm afraid. I don't want to take that fight. Exacerbated by the bridge buff. So this is where the lead really starts getting scary. I agree.
This is becoming like kind of a snowball effect here because it's really difficult for the melee creeps to find that opening now. Now that they know that they have so much more, like so many more items over them. So even going for the bridge buff, like they have to try to defend it, but they can't really stop this urn. They have to just be really smart with when they try to do this team fight because they need 1 or 2 solid full team fights that wins in their favor for melee creeps to even make a comeback here.
The urn run this time by Boomers will be an unsafe urn zone. So honestly, I expect this just to be a castle, and it looks like that might be what it is. What I mean by castle is just they take the urn, they run it somewhere else so that the team behind can't easily get the urn. That said, looks like McGinnis is going to make me into a liar and just look for the crazy urn push. There's nobody here at all.
Wow, they just let that happen. You see the entire TF2 Boomers. I mean, look at them. They were able to get that for free while melee creeps, they're staying in base. They have to. They're worried.
Exactly. So it's kind of a damned if you do, damned if you don't moment. If you go out and you send people to defend the urn zone, melee creeps Boomers just send a strike team on the other side to take out the tier 3s and possibly a shrine. So you can't commit too many resources to it. It looks silly to let it go. Honestly, it's closer. I might have sent a couple of people to play defense, but this play looks silly, Macro, but in reality, if they go in full commit to a defense, it probably loses them at least the shrines, if not the P1 patrons. So it is one of those, like, you know, it's like wearing an ugly bicycle helmet. You just got to make that choice sometimes.
That analogy is so wild. I love it, though. I think that's a good way to put it.
You don't want to mess up your hair, but you don't want to die. So put on your helmet,
exactly.
Bro.
Right now, they're in full helmet mode. They're in full protect the castle mode. They're gonna let them get this soul lead of over 40,000 because they know that at this point they have to play it this way. Once they already got to that point, they need TF2 Boomers to go in and make mistakes. And TF2 Boomers, they're going to wait. Everything is in their pocket. They're in the driver's seat fully. They could even go for mid-boss if they want to.
Pockets on melee creeps?
They got... Oh, man. You
were on your train? I just had to throw that in there.
Dude, there's the amount of times that I want to make a joke because like there's a Wraith and a Mirage in this game too. I get it. And they're gonna get this mid boss seemingly for free. There's a fight going on outside. They're ready for it. This is melee creep's chance. Melee creep's chance here is to try to pick them off on the way out. Use this for a little bit of momentum here, but it might not be it. And like that, Boink able to take out Pashi, Mirror Man take out Op, Salty taking out CC on the Warden, and like it was inevitable. They were just delaying the inevitable, in my opinion.
The wrong game plan here, as the Yamato chases down Saya, the last player alive. No chance to survive. Make your time. This is Shrine 1, Shrine 2, and almost certainly the Phase 1 patron. The Phase 2 patron will require a battle, as it does speed up the respawns and all that nonsense. But this has just been a lights out performance from TF2 Boomers. Melee creeps in that engagement, not to roll the tape all the way back, but Dynamo jumping in and looking for the giant teamfight ult at 15k souls. Dog, you're half the net worth of the other team. You can't do that. Look for the exit frags in that moment and maybe you have a chance. Now though, Phase 2 patron, pit time, it's all this.
Yeah, Goober on the side also just taking out some friendly bases. Deathy getting the first kill on Pashi. Pashi we saw being kind of like the weakest link right now in terms of just souls. Not going to be able to do anything by themselves. They're in their base. They're just keeping them out from even leaving the doorway. TF2 Boomers, it's basically over at this point. I think we're just looking into what the next plan is for melee creeps going into Game 3.
Almost certainly. Strong presence from the pocket. They're in your base killing your dudes.
Oh, wait. Hold up. The Warden actually able to kill Mirror Man on... That's the first pick we've seen from the melee creep side.
But Yamato ult comes on through, and that should be all she wrote. The rest of the squad filters
for the melees to ban Mirage, because look at Deathy out here with 20,000 player damage on this Mirage. He just was doing so.
Deadlock, Space Station Gaming Extravaganza. I'm F. That's Macro, and Oats are somewhere around here as well. You guys can help us out by hitting up Oats overnight and grabbing something. Anything you grab from their store, we put money on top of the prize pool as a result. So thumbs up to them. Well, I did the okay sign. So thumbs up to
thumbs
them.
Up, whatever you want to do.
To you. Everything's okay. Everything thumbs up. But we're in game 3. Which is always the best case scenario. And of course, we do have 2 more matches along the way, grand finals in the wing. So we're just getting started here. But now we've got a barn burner. Mirage banned out. You was talking about this. You were asking for this. We got it.
Yeah, I think it must be on the side of the melee creeps. There's no way in hell the TF2 Boomers ban Mirage. Unless they did a quick little preemptive ban. I don't know if that's like what ended up happening there. This might be just a little bit of an error, but either way, Warden ends up getting picked first.
So here, and I'm going to operate like it's correct. They have first pick, and they don't want to first pick that Mirage because they're wary of something else. And Warden, so that's a lot of. So when you see a team ban out, let's talk about this specific scenario, and more talking about just like big picture. Why would you see a team ban the character that they played well? That's kind of one of those reasons. Getting confirmation here, we're going to check out it in the back, but that is one of those reasons. You might come through, have a fantastic Mirage game, and then be like, all right, well, we beat him, but that Warden was scary, or we need it for our own comp, and if we ban something else, then they're going to take the Mirage away from us because we're going to prioritize something else in that first position. So that there is a method to that madness of banning what you played well, because again, Mirage is scary universally, because if you're bad, you can still global teleport. And that's good.
Yeah, honestly, like it's one of those things that, like,
there.
There's a method to the madness. We're gonna have to see what ends up happening. It might have been just like an error. We'll see what ends up happening here. Once we get that picks and stuff, I mean, obviously we'll probably end up seeing Warden get picked. Okay, so this makes much more sense though. Yeah, TF2 Boomers opting to ban melee creeps. I think have like the first choice here, but yeah, they ban Mirage first. Makes total sense. It was just destroying them, and they should have thought about banning in the second game. This time around, Paradox is going to be banned on the side of the TF2 Boomers. Also makes sense. Paradox is just annoying to deal with. You just want to ban the strategy of using characters like that. And Warden, once again at home, 100% pick rate as first. Warden never gets banned. It's like always a bridesmaid, never a bride. Like never gets banned, but always gets picked.
He's so powerful. But if you really ask yourself what Warden does to burn your biscuits, it's just like, well, he walks at me, Dad. And like, you have to tell yourself to shut up, right? You got to ban the guys that have something unique, and Warden just walks at you. I think you ban Warden when his numbers get too crazy. Like if they buff him to the moon, then you start to ban him. But until then, you gotta just sort of deal. Viscous and Yamato on the melee creeps, and then Ivy and Geist on the other side.
Yeah, melee creeps do a lot of work with the Viscous. We saw that game 1, how strong that was, that to the point where TF2 Boomers opted to ban Viscous. This time around, not banning it, but now they know they have to deal with the Viscous. They're going to have to deal with Yamato. They're going to have to deal with Lash. They instead choose Ivy and Lady Geist here on the side of TF2 Boomers. It's actually kind of like flip-flopping. This is their composition over here. Oh, finally an Abrams coming out. I feel like before the melee creeps composition was a little bit more standard, and TF2 Boomers composition was like trying to be a little bit more different with their great Talon picks and their McGinnis picks. This time around, both teams kind of being a little bit more straightforward than which is nice. We know they both want this, so it makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I will always be a fan of, hard to use the word traditional in a game that's been out for 32 seconds, but like I like the double initiator, double nonsense. And we got too soon. All right. But here again, like kind of traditional here. If we're gonna think like McGinnis, what is her role? She's kind of like a utility DPS character. Well, you've got your Abrams and Warden for trad initiation. You've got Lady Geist for some early game dominance and late game damage. Ivy's going to be your utility character alongside Bebop, and McGinnis is looking to be one of your strong DPS players. I think knowing the prowess of the Bebop player across the way, that is a big part of it, and Bebop is going to shift into more of a DPS role the way we saw last time around. But McGinnis, this is a composition that she fits into, frankly. So I like.
You like it. You like it.
Yeah,
you like it. Simply put.
I don't know. You try to hope that you can deal. It is really, really fun in games like this to be good at low tier picks because it essentially raises the tier. It messes everything up. So in that vein, that's largely why I like to root for these oddball picks, because there's so much power in being good at the unpopular.
Oh, I think it's also the power in a ban phase, a draft type system as well. When you have a draft, characters that are normally like considered to be top tier are always going to be picked first. So having those lower tier, having those lower tier characters being your strong picks allows for you to just have freedom of choices at that point. Way more freedom than other characters would. What a shot of Ivy there. Look at the teeth over there. Oh my, oh my. While we have you in this moment, talking about teeth, you know what's good for your teeth? Probably calcium. You know what's really strong in calcium? Most milks. And you know what goes great and needed for you? If you put milk in the oats overnight, drink it overnight. You put it overnight, you can make it, drink it, you can eat it. Whatever you want to do, type exclamation oats in the chat for every single purchase of oats. Half of it will go towards the prize pool at the end for the #1 team. Shout out Oats, our partner for this. And yeah, they're just oats. Super delicious. Super good for you.
Also, shout out our friends on the 1s and 2s. Tanner Metro and Sam Price working the obs this weekend and giving us a lot of good shots and just having some fun. I'm still thinking about little Ivy. That was
what an angle of Ivy, dude.
Oh man, oh, it's so much fun. So much fun jumping into these early days of these rando tournaments. So, an exciting early game here as we take a look at the lanes. Yamato's certainly eating. And I've been stressing this weekend that I think that Lady Geist is a very powerful early game character, and she generally wins all of her lanes in that early game. Yamato is one of the characters that I think actually kind of contests. Lady Geist has a heal, so it's always a little like, sure. But Yamato's damage on that first ability is so high early and with little itemization that she can really be scary, and I'm unsurprised to see Lady Geist push out of lane this early.
Yeah, Lady Geist, though, able to just do usually more damage. Like, we've seen him before, like when Lady Geist was supposed to counter characters like Infernus, or like not counter, but have a strong matchup into lanes versus like characters like Infernus. But we saw that as if players are comfortable with those characters, it doesn't even matter. And in this scenario, that Yamato obviously having a more powerful matchup, but every Yamato player that we've seen, Pashi in particular, has been so strong with them.
A little bit of a dive there. She's gonna wrap around here.
Might be able, maybe.
Oh, I don't know. This all in is a little scary. That Guardian's going to do a ton of damage, but help from the other side. Viscous comes through, confirms one of the kills, and the secondary. Totally crazy play to make by yourself. But when you've got your teammate in the wings, you can depend on him. The double kill for Viscous to start us off.
Yeah, that's going to give them a really strong commanding start here. That double kill will allow for him to easily put a ton of damage into that Guardian, maybe even take it down. We'll see, though, the Shiv, though, taking a ton of damage. Goober able to respond with a kill on AVG's Shiv. We're liking the Abrams pick a lot. I love seeing Abrams, but I feel like even though Abrams is a really strong meta pick, we've not seen much in this tournament.
We haven't seen today specifically. I mean... This is the fun part. I mean, it is early in the game. We're all kind of understanding what is good and what is bad. In the early stages, like, the best players are generally, you know, they must be doing the best thing, but that's not always the case. And so you want to look at what the best players are doing, but also think for yourself a little bit as Dynamo gets shoved. But realistically, man, I mean, that's the crazy part. I think it's insane to run a composition without an Abrams. Like, I think that's insane. But nobody knows everything. Part of me watching this tournament this weekend with y'all at home is a learning experience. I've done a lot of research. We've done a lot of chatting to the top players. We've played hundreds of hours, but we're still discovering stuff. So I mean, to that, you know, at me on Twitter, f.online, and tell me when I'm wrong, because we want to be right, but we're all just learning. As Lash pops the ultimate, and McGinnis, she's learning the hard way here. She gets popped down by the sniper from close range.
Yeah, Braden on this Vindicta with the only real counter to this Vindicta being like Wildex's Bebop, but Bebop not being on that lane to really help against this pretty strong Vindicta piloted by Braden here.
Who has been a force of nature this tournament. Braden largely playing the Lady Geist, but bringing a lot of damage on the sniper. Walex popping the hyper beam off of the Dynamo ult. Walex falls down, so Dynamo gets his bite back this time around. Rough game for Dynamo last time, so a nice change of pace here for the Fat Boy.
Yeah, Warden able to take down Ops Viscus. Viscus' first death happening, but it doesn't matter because Pasha can take down the Friendly Guardian. Friendly Guardian is being traded on both sides as well. Walex spawned in, kills AVG. Just seeing like a lot of just different deaths happening here. Now it's a little bit more even. We're seeing it's always going to be like that usually in the beginning. It's rare for it to be such a humongous skew in the beginning at all, but looking relatively even in terms of trades.
Yeah, it was fun watching the rotation in lane 1 and lane 2. AVG gets 2v1 and falls down, but it's after the tier 1 tower falls down in lane 2 because of said rotation. So Abrams goes, or Bebop goes and joins in this lane. They lose the Guardian, but then they get the kill. They don't get the tower, though. They just get the kill. So now we see 3 players in yellow jerseys pushing onto this tier 1 tower with just the Shiv, unable to bring down the Guardian. Here comes the rest of the party. The Green Man and the Flyers here. Saya starts it and finishes it as Boink falls down again. But the battle on the left-hand side still going the way of blue team because that Guardian is still standing. Great defensive pressure from the melee creeps.
Braden gets another kill on the Warden there. Braden just showing why you don't want them on Vindicta. Another Friendly Guardian goes down as well. And the TF2 Boomers are already looking kind of weakened right now with 3 of their towers taken down versus only 1 on the side of the melee creeps.
Just really macro is beautiful. Also, the macro play. You are a beautiful man.
I was going to say.
It's also beautiful. Melee creeps have been really keeping their mind to the grindstone and making intentional moves. A lot of times we see these like, oh, I'm going to go to this lane, help out a guy, and then come back home. But they're sticking to it, making these plays. Now rotating hard body into this first lane is the other squad trying to push into what the melee creeps have. And it's AVG making the first kill here. Big hyper beam out of the long range robot, but it's just a 1 for none. Melee creeps on the good side. I thought that might have been a good moment for the Boomers, but melee creeps still coming up, Millhouse.
Yeah, the TF2 Boomers had to use that ultimate from Bebop just to stop that push from happening because they were on a push. They were definitely going to try to get more. They got 1. They knew they were already up in terms of advantage, but honestly good on Wilex to use that ultimate, but now they know that he doesn't have that for a little bit, and they're able to take down the 4th and final tower here, potentially. Oh no, this is the wrong tower. This is the second tower. We can take him down.
Always looking for more of it.
That's the final tower, but Lash comes out to hold, trying to protect this, trying to push this tower, trying to get the final tower down. Looking like it's going to happen because he's going to die for it. He dies for it. Doesn't even get it in the process.
Unfortunate.
Boink's able to travel with the wall there.
Melee creeps, but this is exactly what the Boomers want here. A big push on this left side. They defend the Guardian, which is a big deal. Again, y'all got to be thinking about flex slots, and defending that flex slot is a large deal. McGinnis got 1 of the turrets, and here contributes to the second one. So a nice look so far for the Guinness. Look at the build here. It's going to be all spirit.
That was a big push on the side of TF2 Boomers there. Able to fully take down 2 Guardians for basically nothing in exchange. They're able to defend their last Guardian. And now it's looking pretty even again. It keeps happening consistently.
Staring at this McGinnis. I want it to work because kind of what I was saying before, like we're all like kind of learning, you know, this McGinnis, I don't love the pick, but I say this often, like, I have these ideas. Theoretically, you and I are in the know. We've done the work, and we come in and we present you what's supposed to happen. We're supposed to see the Dynamo ult pop. We're supposed to see the follow-up damage. And then when it goes awry, when that's not what happens, because Dynamo got picked or something, that means sports happened. That means something interesting went down. But in these early stages of a game, when everybody's just trying to kind of piece things together, again, we could results-based thinking winds up being often how we come to these conclusions. We look at Leffa and go, well, he's top on the leaderboard. His picks must be best. We look at Hydra Nation and go, their comps must be best. Who knows? Maybe there's more out there yet to be discovered, and Dynamo's going to discover this team fight. Started it off and immediately getting dropped down to the bottom by Brayden.
Yeah, Brayden's actually able to get a pick off on the Warden there. It's actually Boink that puts in a ton of damage onto the Dynamo there. Brayden was able to at least trade, so it's still even in terms of raw players on the field. But there's so much damage coming on the side of melee creeps here. It might be hard if Viscous can get out, maybe. But no, Viscous is not going to be able to get out here. Viscous caught in alone. Salty just melting Viscous down.
Well, Lash and Bebop, or excuse me, Lash and Dynamo are going to respond. So they do show up to this tier 2, to this Guardian, actually. Damn, that's a tier 1 tower. They do show up here. But everybody's gone already. So a walk away. And early in this game, we had a 5,000 souls lead, which I have belabored the point that we're not going to talk about a lot, but at 6 minutes, that is a drastic lead. All that said, Boomers find a couple of haymakers, and we tied up again. So, a very important answer back here from Boomers. A lot of action going on the left side specifically, but they've been able to stem the bleeding. And a nice play there earns a kill for Dynamo. The snatch won't be a big deal. And Abrams falls down.
Consistent trades left and right there. Yamato might actually be punished here for going for the Walker, but gets the Walker anyway. That's a humongous kill on their part. And then Yamato just teleports away from the Lady Guys team. Tactical crouches right in front of them, but it didn't matter. They were ready. The Walker ends up actually killing Pashi in the process.
Ain't no way. I heard your trepidation. This is Space Station. He was teabagging. That's not okay. Actually, that's very okay. But still, trouble in the teleport. And that's the space where I expect McGinnis to go hard. And she does. You're in this confined location, a couple of her turret buddies on the floor, and you're next, right? Like, you're just 17 people are shooting you. You're like, fire the missiles, because you don't know what's happening. So, time to take a nap. Great
What's
going to
happen here? Oh, Brayden's able to maybe successfully defend this Walker. They're going to take down the Walker, but at what cost? Losing both Salty and losing both Salty and the McGinnis. Back-to-back Boink goes down as well. Goober also down too. 4 down on the side of TF2 Boomers. Melee creeps can use this momentum. The mid boss is already here. They can go for that next if they wanted to. So maybe a little too early for that choice. ABG able to take down Deathy as well. Whoa. However, Wellix able to completely combat ABG, stopping him there. The Urn being picked up by Up instead, so they're going to probably go for an Urn push, using this momentum to get an Urn push.
The martyrdom kill.
It happens. It happens. Call of Duty martyrdom over here.
You're like, I'm dead. Oh, but so are you. ABG gets the bleed kill. Very fun. TF2 Boomers there overstayed their welcome. You go ahead, you get that Walker, you high five Yamato, and you know, you say, all right, Pashi, you ran away. Well, we got this push. And then they stuck around, right? Like they tried to deal with Pashi. Pashi TP's away. And then Boomers are just kind of there, and the opponent shows up. So I think anytime you're standing still, you're probably doing something wrong. And that's really, they just got stuck in the mud, and not generally a look that you want to see.
Here, Viscous dropping the Urn, giving it to Shiv instead, because I think Viscous knows that they can use their abilities to protect Shiv here. Maybe just go for it. That wall is really strong. It's not but unfortunately gets stunned trying to take the Urn out.
Knocked
Got a
down.
full fight happening on this urn. This is actually the first time on broadcast we've seen a true fight literally on top of the urn spot.
Really smart target prioritization coming out for the TF2 Boomers here. Everybody just looking at Dynamo, tossing the knockdown, tossing the handcuffs, tossing the everything at the fat guy. Doesn't want the initiation to go that way. They fight Dynamo, they shove him out onto the bridge, and as that opens up the door for the Solar in return, they wind up successfully bringing it home. They get a kill on the sire after the fact as well, and here comes Daddy Abrams. But everybody left. There's nobody to ground. There's nobody to pound. McGinnis is on the top, and Abrams burns the ultimate, finds the kill onto the sniper. And I guess at the end of the day, you don't need to land on him. You just need to make him walk away. The space created, the walker deleted.
Yeah, we also saw during that entire thing, Abrams actually able to successfully get the soul urn in the middle of that fight. However, Walix goes down to Op here. They were in a pretty strong position to, like, if they just stayed together there, I think Op was a little bit too aggressively pushing at that point. They weren't in a super duper strong of a position to just be playing that aggro like that.
Yeah, just don't be there. Sometimes I have a lot of stuff to say with analysis. Sometimes it's, dog, don't be there. So, this time around, I was very close to saying that to this, to this Dynamo. I'm like, dog, don't be there. Be here instead. Mid-boss being pulled, all ultimates available minus the viscous one. Look across the way. No Abrams ult. This is a big reason why melee creeps feel comfortable pulling this despite so many people being alive. They have their teamfight ultimate, and Abrams is not available for that teamfight ultimate. Hyperbeam's not up either, but I doubt they have that math. They probably think it is because it's so close to being up, right?
Yeah.
So you're afraid of the goober, and it's already gone. So GG.
Yeah, even able to try to go for this urn push again for a second time. Last time they weren't actually able to get the urn, but I think now they're in a strong enough position with that mid-boss buff to do some strong pushes here. However, Mirrorman able to get the first pick on Op.
That's a big change. Had some tools. Now that's a bigger change. CC going down is going to be problematic for melee creeps as Abrams now pushing onto the sniper. Nobody here to peel for Vindicta. Until Dynamo shows up. The ultimate used to peel the Abrams, but the Abrams ult comes up, he lands down, and Vindicta's still running away from the blueberry. But with Abrams being just controlled by this sniper, everything's going awry for the enemy team down south. Melee creeps fall down again to the hand. This time around, Abrams does find that kill. But with that chase of Vindicta, she wasn't involved in that team fight. Their damage was neutered. Lash falls down, and Boomers wins that engagement handily.
Yeah, it makes the entire mid-boss push completely nullified at this point. Only one of the teams, Pashi, the only one to get out with their life, has that respawn speed. At this point, it's basically a neutral game. In fact, TF2 Boomers were down in souls earlier. Like we said, souls not super duper important, but a good indicator to see how we're doing. And it looks like they're able to kind of balance out the game a bit again.
Well said. It's a good, like, advantage bar indicator for my Giga nerds out there. It really feels like that. With 6,000 soul lead at 17 minutes, we do not care, but it is an indicator of who has a little bit of...
Yeah, it's just a good soul swing. I call it like a soul swing because at this point, like, the melee creeps were technically up in souls by like about 6,000. So to swing back in their favor by 6,000, that's the 12,000 soul differential that happened there. And I think that's something to point of note. It's not saying that they're winning per se, but it's now putting them in a stronger position to win.
Oh, I'm picking up what you're putting down. I think it's beautifully illustrated. Like, really, really well said. This Dynamo player, beautifully illustrated. All right, that wasn't my finest segue there, but
no,
the Dynamo player he's been playing well. A lot of these ultimates, that last engagement really impressed me. Like, your Vindicta's getting chased down, she's all alone, and out of nowhere, like Randy Orton, here comes the fat guy and burns the ultimate, which I think was a big deal. Saved Vindicta. If he doesn't pop the ultimate, Vindicta dies. Abrams turns around, is able to ult the rest of the team fight. Maybe melee creeps are able to, like, fight into that. But with Vindicta being just tooled around the entire time, you know, Goober's just out of it, and they still win. So, an interesting team fight for Boomers. I didn't expect it to go that way, but it does anyway.
Yeah, now it's like just any man. Earlier I was like melee creeps are just showing such a strong force here, but even the McGinnis is putting in. I'm not saying it like that, but like McGinnis is putting in work even like.
Well, no, absolutely. The McGinnis, you see the knockdown being purchased there from the McGinnis, largely the utility pick. Support means something different. Not enough time to really go into this YouTube video of a rant, but like you're buying these items. That's your role here as this utility support-ish. Like you got to kill people, dude. It's all about damage. But you're the one saying, okay, I won't buy Lucky Shot, I guess. I won't buy Int Mag. I'll instead buy the knockdown for the Vindicta. Like that's your job. And Boink has been doing that. Been having a spectacularly mediocre game. But that's kind of what I'm looking for. So ain't no thing. Not that upset. TF2 Boomers, I don't feel like they have the momentum. And I don't know where it's going to come. I do know where it's going to come from. Goober. It's got to be Goober.
Yeah, Goober's Abrams has been kind of the key to the success in this game so far. Every time Goober has been in the team fight, that team fight went in their favor. Every time Goober was killed first or not there, that's when it was kind of lights out curtains.
The Boomers here with the ball, so to speak, here in lane number 3. Earn being just annoying. Lash isn't here. That's the big takeaway. So it's a 4 on, make it 5, as the 5th member of Melee Creeps shows up. And Op wants to shove out the Boomers. The Boomers do not feel comfortable here, which is the right call. Ivy splitting in lane 2. McGinnis, I don't know what you're doing, but Ivy splitting in lane 2. McGinnis is going to take the teleporter here and try to defend onto the urn, but McGinnis definitely just straight up in the wrong spot. Note, they're not going to be able to defend? Yes, they will. McGinnis shows up, tosses out the wall. Great play here from McGinnis. She was not late.
Yeah, McGinnis every single time.
Exactly when she needed to show up.
Yeah, with the urns, she's always waiting, wall in hand. Like that wall has been so good to create that space to stop the push from happening, to stop the urn from happening. Pasha gets a kill. Goober trades into Braden. However, it's looking like Melee Creeps are going to be able to get through this. Wallix responds with a kill on Pashi. It is now 3-2 in terms of kills. Salty able to finish off ABG. It's an even trade right now that's happening.
And ABG falling down alongside Saya. They're going to fall down like dominoes here. No front line. It's just Lash. Ivy on the chase as well. And so just kind of a haphazard team fight here. Cheese Man will fall down.
Oh
the friendly
my
base
gosh.
Guardians are falling down as well for the creeps. So TF2 Boomers barely make it out of that fight alive. They've got 2 1/10 of a player, as Geist is relatively low. But a fight going handily in the direction of Melee Creeps. Boomers, rather, as the Melee Creeps fall down.
Yeah, the Boomers are definitely going to take advantage of this.
It just winds up being homework time, yeah.
Yeah, they're going to do their homework. They're going to get the extra credit here. The extra credit being the soul urn over right now. They're definitely going to get this for free. The lane control is also happening. Just cleaning everything up because right now, this is the first time we've seen such a strong double win in terms of like the last 2 team fights going in the favor of TF2 Boomers, and that's what they've needed to get this momentum push. It's actually wild to see Melee Creeps doing so well. Game 1, Game 2 going really handily into the side of TF2 Boomers. This game's a lot closer, but I don't know. The Boomers are showing up.
Abrams left side, not in the conversation. Geist, lane 2, not in the conversation. A 6-on-4. Melee Creeps have the numbers advantage here in this fight. Abrams TPs, and now he'll be a part of it. Geist still not. Still a 6-on-5 here. Melee Creeps with the numbers advantage. Lash trying to find another on the left-hand side, but it's Boomers. Despite the numbers disadvantage, they find a kill. They go ahead and successfully split in lane 2 as well. Geist finally making it over here, but her team is fine without her. Split into 2. Abrams trying to deal with down south, and everybody dealing with up top. Alex gets the kill onto the tank Shiv. And a little bit of help from the friends down south. A fantastic team fight here from Boomers. Should just be some cleanup as Cheese eats it as well. But with these players down, these are tier 3s undoubtedly. Vindicta can't defend by herself. No, okay.
Now it's mid-boss. It's mid-boss for sure. They see the open opportunity to get this mid-boss for free. And then they're going to take on the final tier 3 towers as well. I think they have time for both.
Call?
I don't know if I agree with this because they definitely could have taken out the towers first. I think they had a little bit more of like the momentum they had there and positioning they had to just finish off the last 2 remaining towers, get those flex spots instead, and go for this later because I think those flex spots are going to be way more important.
I do think it's a choice. You're either getting the towers, the tier 3s there for the flex, or you're getting the mid boss. Can we just go one by one down the lane of boomers, like from Deathy to Boink to Mirror Man? I want to see if they're reaching that ceiling of flex spots. McGinnis has a flex spot available. We go over to Ivy on the Mirror Man, and I think also a flex slot available. So I mean, they don't need it right now, and that's the decision-making point that I look at. If all of their slots are filled and they've just got a pocket full of stinkies and unable to buy items because they are limited by these slots, then you gotta go for the base. You gotta hit those objectives. But if you have a little bit of room to burn, you're vibing, you still got some space. See Shiv and Lash. This is kind of where I'm talking about. They need these flex spots. The boomers, they have that. They have a third slot that they haven't really used just yet, and so yeah, the mid boss is the right call. I like this choice. It's a result of that flex spot situation. If they were a little bit richer, I'd say go the opposite way. Really, really intelligent macro play here.
Yeah, I think that's a good point and a fair point. I mean, obviously going for the tier 3 bosses could get you that souls you need to get to that point where you can maybe upgrade, but nah. They were at the soul advantage anyway. They already have the extra flex spot advantage as well. So now they're just going in for kills. Speaking of kills, though, Brayden said no thank you. Getting a first pick right there on Mirror Man. Lash's ult comes out, and now they're able to kill Boink with it as well.
Very good stop. Should just be a full stop. I don't really see the 4-on-6 push here being a smart plan. And so the boomers do fall back. They got the same memo as me. Listen, I don't know if 4-on-6 is a good call. What do you think?
Probably not the best play to go for that, but yeah, I'm glad they pulled back. They were only able to bleed 2 people, and they had the fast spawn, so they're already back in action. If Wildix, Goober, Salty, Deathy, any of them were caught off guard, you know Melee Creeps would have tried to push that out, but now good positioning on their part. I think that was a really good call on whoever's leading the comms on the side of TF2 Boomers to pull out there.
Missed pull there. No worries. I said it before. I'll say it a zillion times. When you have one of these like medium, well, that's an extremely short cooldown. Forget I said anything.
Yeah,
Dynamo,
that was a fast cooldown.
making a lot of noise. People squashed in and squashed down. 2 kills go in the way of blue, but a 1-out trade. So a 2-for-1. TF2 Boomers on the bad side of the exchange. And if I'm Melee Creeps, I'm calling all in. I want to see them push out. They're being more disciplined, and honestly, in retrospect, I don't hate this call. Warden, big kill on Pashi. Probably a team fight changing kill on the diving Yamato.
Oh, maybe a little bit too aggressive there for the Warden, though. Deathy kind of went a little bit too deep, but it worked out because they're able to take down one of the shrines in the process. She's able to take down Salty, though.
And that's going to be a problem. With Salty going down, this has to be a retreat here. I really thought that Yamato kill was going to turn things. I thought that the Deathy taking down Yamato here would have really, really opened up the. You're just not threatened by the. Okay, we go in deep, we bring her down, and then Yamato ults and kills 2 of us, 3 of us maybe. Like that's a really scary scenario. And with her down, I thought we were going to see some more unbridled offense. But Boomers pull it back, and ultimately. Probably the right choice. And Macro Man, I think you nailed it there. I think the Warden death. If Deathy is still alive, we see them stay and hang out. But with Deathy down, they gotta go home and just spend a night in the Gotel.
Yeah, I think there was a chance there, kind of like a 50-50 choice in his head. He thought he could maybe finish the Shiv and get that trade at least. He knew he was probably going to die for it, but I think there was a different opportunity there for him to just escape with his life. Now we got the Ivy ultimate coming out, picking up the Abrams. It's going to be like an Abrams nuke.
Cruising. Everybody hanging out here around the Ancients. Walik's going to go ahead and grab one, and it's the Yamato right away. Definitely makes the whole team fight taste a little bit different when you take that seasoning on out. Lash shows up top, tries to group players together, finds a dive kick on 4, but ain't nobody care. The Boomers are just too thick. And they're following these players all the way in here. Lane 2 has been the push plot for Boomers. They've got this shrine down, the right side shrine still alive, about halfway so.
Now they're just keeping them at their base at this point. The Melee Creeps have no choice but to play defense here, kind of defend the castle again. And And now they're using the viscous ultimate. Little ball boy coming out. A little bit of a bowling action here. It's stopped by the wall. A huge McGinnis wall stops him in his tracks.
And this is the moment. I am going to elaborate on this later on. So remind me. Phase 1 patron. Halfway done, and there is the transformation. Strong damage coming out from the yellow squad.
I think we're going to see a Hyper Beam come out here. He's going to get himself in the air. After this patron comes down, definitely going to see it. Like, we're going to see Bebop, and wow, it's proving why these 1,700 hours matter. He is one of the best, if not the best Bebop we've seen in this entire tournament.
I haven't seen much Bebop. Definitely one of the characters that was extremely popular once upon a time and has fallen a little bit in prominence as far as, you know, anecdotally. And also in competitive. We just see a little bit less of him. But I want to highlight this McGinnis here. McGinnis has been having some strong looks in kind of the ways that I was explaining. In confined spaces, in these moments, she's making it happen. So right here, maybe another moment. Melee creeps. This is a Hail Mary. 6 against 5, so technically melee creeps have an advantage and they're going to peel off. That's probably the right choice. But now it's fight time. Dynamo on the outskirts of the team fight, trying to group back up with his squad. As yellow team on the way out. Dynamo grabs 1, Dynamo grabs 2, and both of them fall down. The third comes with it. Wallix is eating it, and Saya is eating. Big time ultimate coming out, should be the entirety of it. And Ivy can't fly away from this one. Phase 1 patron guaranteed. And the Phase 2, honestly, with how quickly they made it here to the base, Phase 1 patron takes 10 seconds off of your respawn timer. They might get a chance to defend that Phase 2, but what do you...
why are they focusing on the mid boss? They definitely should be focusing on this patron. I don't know how I feel about that choice of still sticking with the mid boss, but I guess they want the spawn. I guess they can do both. They're like, we figure we can do both. I think they can.
Okay, they did get both. They did get both. No.
Yeah,
that
okay,
is,
that was worth.
Yeah, both of us have to shut up.
Honestly,
that was objectively the correct choice.
Yeah, it was. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about how insanely thoughtful that melee crease push was there. They had to. They were up in an advantage at that point. The Boomers should have completely peeled out, but they thought they could take it. But you saw that Dynamo ultimate. That Dynamo ultimate was what clutched it up, capturing 2 of them in it. And that was the swing they needed. And look at it now. It is now back to essentially an even game. Both patrons weakened. It's now up to whoever wins this next team fight wins it all.
I didn't realize there was 2 players there on the mid, which is why I thought Braden was trying to solo.
Oh no, yeah, I thought it was just Braden too, but I saw the other one.
I was like, dog, what are you doing? Like, I was so confused. But let me walk this back and intentionally so. So this is something that I think we need to see more of in Deadlock. Is the split. Like, when we're looking at similar games, you got to have 5 people grouped up. Maybe you can 4-1 push towards the end. Maybe the 3-2 split also gets a little scary because the defense is going to defend with 5 players. But here in Deadlock with 6 people, I think the 4-2 splits make sense. You can absolutely engage 4 versus 6 and win that 4v6 if you're on the side with the 4. These are it's a fundamentally different game than a lot of us are used to talking about. And so that 4-2 split there, I forget everything I said about it. I thought it was Braden by himself. I didn't see that Viscous was there as well. And that 4-2 split, I think, is very intelligent and specifically Deadlock intelligent, understanding just the relative level of power. Very, very cool play there. It didn't really have to do it. It didn't really have to do much of anything. And it all started with the bait. They go to mid boss and they don't want to do it macro. I think they just wanted to fight.
Yeah, that was very smart of them on that part. There's an argument with how long the spawns were for the TF2 Boomers that they could have maybe just won it right then and there. But no, in the end of the day, the safest pick, the safest play, the safest position was to get both.
Yep.
¿Por qué no los dos? ¿Por qué no los dos? And now, no los tres, they're about to get the Solar 2 for essentially free.
Honestly, factual. Man, shout out Dynamo. That's who we're shouting out.
Oh, Dynamo using the
terrible
ultimate, kind of,
ult.
yeah, the ultimate did not do anything that actually might cost them this fight and lose them their advantage they had when it came to having that fast respawns from the mid boss.
That's the tough part about Dynamo. These last 3 engagements have been brought to you by Dynamo. And now with the ultimate down, this could be the biggest sell of the game. You need that black hole. Oh, refresher. It's up again. Does he have refresher? It's up again. It's up again. Does he have refresher? Yes,
That's
he's got a
wild.
refresher. It's up again. It's up again. Okay, no worries. He has refresher. It's up again.
Wow, refresher is such a strong item, but that's why that soul advantage is going to come in clutch at the end here. And honestly, if they don't know that he has refresher, which, like, you know,
They can mouse over it.
yeah, it's pretty obvious. But like, it makes the Dynamo so much more threatening.
That's a big point. I think it is less important. I'm not going to make a comparison statement. It's an important thing to do in this game to periodically just press tab. Like, when you're killing a jungle camp, when you're pushing out the waves, just press tab and mouse over what the other guy got. You got to know who has curse. You have to know who, if you're the Vindicta, you have to know who has knockdown. If you're playing against the Dynamos, if you're playing against the Abrams, you have to know who has refresher for these moments specifically. These are absolutely things that change the way you approach team fights and change the way you play the game. So when you're doing a bunch of nothing, when you're running this urn in your own side of the map, press tab and look at what the opponent has and see if that will change the way you approach the situation.
I think it's just one of those things where, like, this Dynamo has been showing what a Dynamo can do. We've seen a couple of different times where the Dynamo doesn't get as much value as we want to see them have, but not in this game, not in this particular round either. Big pull there, but not. It kind of forces the Viscous to have to cube out.
Lash shows up, tosses the ultimate, and he's clapping, but nothing to clap for, dog. You whiffed it. Dynamo, on the other hand, also whiffs and falls down. Salty gets a giant kill. And the windows of opportunity, very small, but a window nonetheless. Mid-boss does respawn, and TF2 Boomers with 6 players are going to look towards this mid-boss. A lot of the conversation about, do we want to prioritize mid? Do we want to go right to the end? Do we want to prioritize mid? I think mid rises in level. Mid is more attractive the closer your opponent is. And MLC, Melee Creeps, this is a strong team. I need all the help I can get, so please, give me a Rejuvenator. And Melee Creeps want to fight on their base, not here. And without Saya, without Saya's ult, and without Lash ult, that is objectively the correct choice.
Oh man, it keeps swinging back and forth. This is literally a pendulum of a game. We saw the Melee Creeps have that mid-boss advantage, have such a strong push advantage, but losing just one, not a fight, not a full team fight, but just losing that Dynamo there, it's forcing them to have to peel back because the spawn is just way too long, and losing Dynamo in particular, it's just such a pivotal, like, pillar of your team.
Yeah. He's a cornerstone. He's the catalyst. This team can do stuff without Dynamo. Cheese is going to have to show up and be the large initiator, right? Get a bunch of players. But we're seeing, honestly, what happens when Lash is a character that struggles at medium or plathead level of play, if you will. Like, we're right below that top level. At a low level, you just high noon everybody and GGOL. And at a high level, you kind of do the same thing because everybody's distracted, right? At a low level of play, nobody really knows to run away. And then at a high level of play, everybody's distracted because your teammates are also good. They're also doing things to initiate the team fight. And so everybody hears the bell, but they go, oh no, and they're already grabbed. At this level of play, what's happening here is Cheese doesn't really have there's nothing else going on. So as soon as Lash ults, everybody's just aware, and they just walk away from it. They hide around the corner. Either Cheese needs to be in a better position to find these ults or needs help with other people on the team making noise.
And here comes the final push into this Patron. This could make or break. Whoever wins this fight, wins this duel, wins it at this point. Not necessarily true because the Boomers do have the faster respawn, but the Melee Creeps need to win this fight or it's over.
Dynamo is definitely the guy who we're all staring at, and he's grabbed a couple of players. McGinnis Wall is here to help out, and Op winds up capitalizing only one kill off of that giant Dynamo ult. So Amber team still in a decent spot as they push on into this Phase 2 Patron. Great defense so far coming out from the Sapphire team. They've got one player down. Rejuvenator's tough to fight into. 25% left on the sphere, and all the damage in the world coming out. That's game 3. The Boomers.
We're seeing some really solid play. We can't understate how important it was that Salty over here putting in tons and tons and tons of damage. And of course, Walex getting those hooks in those